Well, Tapu, Assalamu alaikum, Namaste, Nefer. This is Qesankh Mahakaparu with an exciting new video for you. In this video, I want to talk about the secret program of mind manipulation. But before I do that, I want you to hit the like button on this video. If this is your first time to my channel, welcome. Hit the subscribe button to get notifications on when I go live and when I upload recorded videos. If you're interested in learning more about my spiritual teachings, you can scroll down below. I've got free ebooks for you. Just click on the links, download the ebooks, and start reading right away. However, if you want to take that next step, if you want to learn magic, if you want to learn how to manipulate reality, you can become a Patreon supporter for as little as $1, $5, $2, $20, $50, $100. It's up to you. There's no obligation, and you can cancel at any time. You'll learn spiritual secrets like proper breathing exercises to calm the animal spirit within you, how to astral project, how to create an amulet for luck, how to do money magic, how to summon spirits for your protection, how to contact the ancestors, how to do self-hypnosis. And if you are a $20 supporter, you'll get all your oracle readings for free. So become a Patreon supporter today. Last but not least, share this video with family and friends so we can get this revolution started. Harun Nefer, may Buddha bless you. I want to make this video here, and hopefully it won't be a long video. And I want to talk about something that's very important that I kind of addressed in my class on Sunday. I had a hypnosis class on Sunday, comedic hypnosis, and the students were all gathered around in a circle, and I put everybody into trance. And then after we got out of the trance, they each relayed their experiences of what happened. So it was a wonderful experience. Some people were visited by their deceased ancestors. Others were visited by the goddess Ma'at. So it was really, really great experience. But one of the things I told everyone there was that we're all mentally ill, and the goal is to get better. And all the students in the class kind of like were like that, you know. And I don't think they were ready for that. And there is a saying. It's an old saying by a guru that it's no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. Just because you're well adjusted to the society doesn't mean that you're healthy. In fact, it means the exact opposite, because we have been manipulated and are being manipulated. So let me just put context around that for you. You see, from the very beginning, we're told that things move in a linear fashion according to space-time, which I call this the space-time continuum. And that we start at a primitive state, and then we go through history and we become more advanced. So we start as hunter-gatherers, and then we start to evolve, you know, and then, you know, Homo sapiens or whatever wins out against the Neanderthals, whatever you subscribe to, or we evolve from apes, that's not true, but we're not gonna go into that. But this whole idea of evolution, which is a wrong idea, because nothing spontaneously evolves on its own. There has to be the principle of ma'at, interrelationship and interdependence, meaning your environment dictates a lot about you. White people are lacking melanin because they came from an environment that didn't have sun. Black people are dark because they came from an environment that had sun. So evolution doesn't happen on its own. There are external factors play into how you adapt. And I think really, it's not evolution. It's the best adapt will survive. Because the planet goes through changes. And with that, Neter, God, Yahweh, in his or her supreme wisdom, made it so that we would align with those changes for survival. And then the mere reason that we have so many races is because if a disease were to come out and take out one race, like, for example, the Asian race or the Black race, you still have other races that are immune to those diseases. So God created variety for a reason. Okay? But I digress. What I want you to understand is that ever since Sumer in antiquity, there has been a covert group of elite magicians who have sought to dominate and control the planet. And one of the things they did was to destroy all of the ancient libraries of antiquity and burn the papyrus or papyri so that they could take this knowledge and go underground, literally speaking, and allow our society to be retarded in its progress while they advance. So you have the two different timelines. You have us above, living in the dark ages, and a highly advanced civilization of those elite magicians, dark magicians, in the underworld, the underground. And they have sought for so long to dominate the planet and control the planet, but they represent only the few, tiny few, 1%. So they knew that it would take time. And to do so, they would communicate with interdimensional beings. And if you don't believe in these interdimensional beings, you're a damn fool. Because from ancient times, our ancestors knew how to communicate with unseen forces, communicate with spirits, angels, gnomes, what have you. Demons, we can communicate with demons. We can communicate with the gods. We have known this, and we have known that there were extra dimensions beyond what we think is the fourth dimension, 4D, 3 dimensions of space and 1 of time. But there's more dimensions. We can't perceive dimensions. Just like if you were living in the second dimension, how would you perceive a third dimensional being? You would see something, but you could not comprehend what you were seeing. In the same way we live in the 4D, we see phenomena, but we can't comprehend what we're seeing because we're in 4D. Do you understand? So the ruling elite learned the techniques of communicating with interdimensional beings and receiving wisdom and knowledge on how to imprison the planet by putting it into a left brain way of thinking. And thus they sought throughout all these centuries to manipulate humanity incrementally, a piece at a time. This is what David Icke calls it totalitarian tiptoe. You cannot push something on a group of people all at once. They will reject it. But if you feed the poison to them in increments, eventually they will adapt and accept it. You ever try to drink something you don't like? And if you take a big gulp of it and swallow it, you may throw it up, you regurgitate it. But if you sip it, your body will become accustomed to the taste eventually. Same with poisons. You can inject yourself all at once, snake venom, and you will die. But if you give yourself a little bit of venom at a time, your body will adapt and be immune to the bite of the snake. This is what has happened to us. They have crafted the direction in which we're headed. In our history, we don't even know if our history is true. It's not. We've been given an implant, a false memory. We have amnesia. So we don't know exactly what our history is. So what they have sought to do is to strip us of our divine essence of who we are as God men and God women. They have trapped us in superficial thinking, left brain thinking, which left brain thinking can only perceive, it's not abstract. So it cannot perceive God as an abstract entity, that which is what God is. God is immaterial, metaphysical. It cannot perceive God in that way. So it has to create a concrete example of God in order to conceive in it. It has to create this figure of a man with a beard in the clouds, because the left brain thinks in terms of concrete. It can only work in terms of that which you can see, hear, feel, taste. It does not work good when it's trying to conceive the metaphysical. That's the domain of the right brain. The right brain is metaphysical and thinking, abstract and thinking. It's nonlinear. It doesn't think in terms of space and time. It is 5D, the gateway. It is the stargate to 5D. So these elite went underground in a covert operation to incrementally craft man, to strip man of his divine powers. And you can see this and witness this through history in the form of the witch hunts, killing women who were the first priestesses, the first goddesses, killing them for practicing magic, because they don't want you to understand how to contact your ancestors, the interdimensional beings, the spirits, the angels. They don't want you to be able to do that. They want you to think solely in terms of concrete thinking. They want you to become a servant of them. That when somebody brings up spirit communication, astral projection, you're to laugh at them. And that's what we have done. And that's what we are doing. Now, the conspiracy theorists who are on the same line of thinking have got it all wrong. And I want to talk a little bit about that. But let's first, let me share my screen, because I want you to listen to what David Icke, he's a noted author and lecturer on this subject. And I want to talk a little bit about where he's got things wrong. All right. And give me 1 second and let me just pull him up. There we go. And if you can hear this, let me know.
Why does a serial killer do what they do? Why does psychopaths act like they do? And the answer is because they're psychopaths. So what we're dealing here with are psychopaths, in fact, super psychopaths. Super psychopaths that have, as psychopaths have, it's one of what it is the top trait of a psychopath. They have no empathy. They have no ability to put themselves in the feeling and experiences of those they affect. So anyone who has empathy, it's the fail-safe mechanism of human behavior. If you can feel empathy with the effect you're having on other people, that limits what you're going to do. Because first of all, you're having an emotional consequence of what you're doing. But when you have no empathy because you're a psychopath, you don't have that emotional consequence. In fact, you get off on people suffering and you posturing your power over them. So we're dealing with deeply insane people from a consciousness point of view, but intellectually bright enough to understand how the human psyche works and how you can manipulate it. Because when there's a few of you and you want to control billions, you have to do it by manipulating the perceptions of the billions so they act and respond in ways that suit your agenda. You can't. They want to go to this next stage through connecting the human brain to artificial intelligence, which they're open to talking about. But up to this point, they simply don't have the numbers to impose their will on the population. Because not enough of it, even taking into account the law enforcement and the government administration and all this stuff, there's still only a fraction of them compared with the population they want to control and dictate to. So the way they do it, and the COVID era is a classic example, is they manipulate the perceptions of the people so they act in ways that suit the agenda. So they're psychopaths, so they act like psychopaths. And in terms of who they are, well, that's a very long story. But I have taken this back to at least to ancient Babylon and Sumer, and you can go back further into other parts of the world as well. But you can follow a network which You can follow it out of Babylon. You can follow it out of Egypt too, and into Rome, where they became the Roman Empire ultimately. Wherever this network has gone through history, an empire has followed, because that's what they are. They're acquisitive.
All right, so that's a little bit of David Icke talking about the ruling elite and where they're from. So I want to just make a clarification here so we understand something. Now, individuals like David Icke, he's probably one of the premier people out there who are talking about the subject matter and the elite and what they're doing, how they're programming people, what their goals are, their visions are, and how we need to address them. But one of the problems is that there's so many people out there who are conspiracy theorists who are kind of like on the same page, but they're not really taking a really good analysis of the situation and really looking at what has happened and what will happen. Now, I want you to understand that without the context of all this, learning about this whole idea of the ruling elite taking control of the planet and all that is meaningless. And that's what David Icke and many of those out there in the conspiracy theory arena are missing out on. And because of this, they're presenting to you a skewed version of the situation. You see, the model in which they start with is you as you are now. And that in the future, the ruling elite, the cabal, is going to imprison your mind and enslave you with a police state and put a one world government. That is not true. So let me explain. And you see, the ruling elite has already won. Back in antiquity, you were a god. This is why the ancient Egyptian, the Kamal people, the Kemetic people, would create monumental statues of them and the king and the queen, because everyone aspired in, you can call it a theocracy, in the culture, in the nation, to be godlike. And the appreciation of death and life as complementary elements was so that you understood that the universe is about duality. This is why we don't have whole brain thinking. This is why the society suppresses the right brain, suppresses creativity, suppresses an understanding of the metaphysical world, suppresses an understanding of the deep subconscious mind. You have ministers out there, pit pastors, you have psychotherapists out there who are using oratory communication to try and guide you through your problems. When I work with people, I work through hypnosis. I say your problems originate in the subconscious mind. We're going to regress to cause, and I'm going to eliminate it, purge it from your subconscious mind by putting it into an alternate state of consciousness, and then reprogramming your subconscious mind, or what we call the spirit. I can even speak to your spirit and ask your spirit, well, why do you have stomach aches? And spirit will tell me why you have stomach aches. There's consciousness within you. That's who we really were, but all that was stripped from us. And now we're nothing more than a mannequin, a dummy, a ventriloquist dummy. We have given up our powers. We don't know how powerful we really are. And those like David Icke, give him credit for bringing some of this information to the forefront, has done a great disservice by presenting the model of who humanity is, man, woman, as the way we are now. The way we are now is a programmed, manipulated, socially engineered being. And we are mentally ill. But because many of us can go to the universities, get good grades, take tests, good grades, go to corporate America and learn to smooze and socially fit in and play the corporate game, that we feel that we are okay. We're not. When I was talking to my students, I said, you're supposed to have the ability to communicate with animals through your mind, to communicate with nature through your mind, to communicate with extra dimensional beings and ETs through your mind. You're supposed to be able to astral project and go to Alpha Centauri or Andromeda. But you don't know how to do this. And you think all of this is sci-fi, spookish, and fantasies. You're supposed to connect with the Akashic Records, Tahuti, and bring down so much superior wisdom that you could help humanity advance to the level and far surpass Imhotep. But you don't believe this can be done. And also because you have been stripped of the archetype or the proper model of who you should be. There is no model for who you should be. Aha, but there is. There are two models. There's Jesus and there's Osir. And if you aspire to be them, instead of looking for them to save you, you would awaken the powers within you. You would awaken your third eye. You awaken your ability to communicate mentally. But as long as the conspiracy theorists make it seem like everything is going to be done externally, police state, yes, it's true. The oligarchy, the ruling elite, they're poisoning the air through chemtrails. They're poisoning the food to cause cancers so that you can have a shorter life expectancy. That's what they want. Poisoning the vegetables, they're poisoning everything. It's true. But if you don't start with an understanding of who you truly were, you won't understand where they're trying to take us. And where they're trying to take us is a sick, dark, dystopian future where there are no genders, where you will willingly participate in your own enslavement. You will fight to be a slave, and we're doing it now. You can see it. And what they're masterful at is pitting groups against each other. They break society up in these groups: the alphabet community, the Black nationalists, the white supremacists, the white Democrats, the white Republicans, the Black Democrats, the Black Republicans. They're masters of breaking up these groups and putting them against one another, keeping you occupied with that, but never looking at the puppet master, never looking at the power that you have within you. You are a pale version of who you should be at this point in this history, in this timeline. You should have the ability to heal yourself from anything. I'm going to say that again. You should have the ability to heal yourself from anything. I talk to my students and tell them, if you have loved ones that you want to heal, we can practice a healing mantra and send that to them, that healing to them, no matter how far they are. Because we know through quantum entanglement that there's no such thing as space. Who you are, the basic principle of who you are is non-locality. You are not fixed in any one point in space and time. You are here, you are there, you are everywhere because you are conscious. Consciousness is immaterial. Consciousness doesn't have a point in time that it can be traced to. You are the creator of all. The minute you look at something, the matrix codes collapse into a singularity, one of an infinite number of possibilities based on your belief system. These pastors, ministers, they are appointed taskmasters of the ruling elite to keep you trapped in 3D, third dimensional thinking. That is the worst way to be in life. That is death. 3D is death. Look at Joel Osteen, Pat Roberts. They're walking dead compared to the priests and priestesses and the shaman of yesteryear, who were powerful men and women who would go into time. They could time travel. They could astral project. They could visit planets if they want. Yes, ancient Egypt knew there was life in outer space because they traveled to the planets and communicated with these beings. So don't start now and look at yourself and be afraid that the ruling elite is going to put you into this dark future. Sorry, it's in the present now. This is the future is now. We have been stripped of our powers. You should feel ashamed of the way you are as a human. You should feel ashamed of it. A friend called me from overseas and he said, I'm having some anxiety. How do I deal with that? I've gone to, and he's a big Anthony Roberts fan. He's gone to the motivational speaking and got the self-help books. I said, you know what? Set up 1 hour with me. I'm going to put you into trance hypnosis, and I bet you I will eliminate the anxiety. They've got you so trapped in thinking that you have to talk your problems through. That's how you solve everything, is you're someone who's going to talk about it. We could be producing geniuses if we only focused on hypnosis. Put your child into an alternate state of consciousness and read to your child. And I guarantee you, if you repeat that process, your child will be a genius. Stop reading to your children. If you do, I hope you do. If you don't, that's a problem. Stop reading to your children in the waking state, because the left brain is the brain of the critical faculty, because he's going to filter out a lot of what you're reading. But the non-critical factor is the right brain. It accepts everything. And it stores in the long-term memory. Nikola Tesla, they asked him, how are you such a genius? He says, I use my right brain. I can actually visualize my inventions. He would go into trance and visualize every component being built and even beta test it in his imagination. Most of the world's geniuses, starting from Imhotep, Einstein, Copernicus, were geniuses because they made use of that faculty of the right brain, which is whole brain thinking. So I want you to understand that we don't understand our history and we don't understand who we were supposed to be. The person that disgusts me the most is a person that comes to me and says, oh, I don't believe in anything unless I can see it or hear it or feel it or taste it. You are the walking dead then, because you don't have the ability to see beyond that. You understand the human eye is limited in terms of the visual spectrum of what we can see. Animals can see things that we cannot see. Cats can see in their alpha state. Because you can't see something doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And these pimp pastor ministers only teach from a concrete perspective because they're too stupid to realize that the Bible is an occult book that contains metaphors and allegories and is not to be read literally. This is why when you read the Metunet to the hieroglyphics, it awakens certain psychic centers in the right brain. And you start to be thinking more in terms of 5D. So you're being manipulated at this very moment. Oh, there are 102 genders or 200 genders. Gender is just is an illusion. All of these things are meant to separate us. All of these things are meant to create words, definitions, and labels to separate us and keep us fighting. And if you buy into it, you're in a no-win situation. You're fighting the Hydra. You cut one head off and another head grows. So this is what we need to do. And this is what David Icke and the rest of the conspiracy theorists are not doing. They can tell you who the so-called enemy is. They can tell you what the enemy is doing or has done. But they have no prescription for a way of life to get you out of this situation. So all they can come to you is to restate the problem over and over again from a different perspective so they can fill their auditoriums. They can sell their books. But when you sit down and say, what is a concrete solution and plan to get us out of this situation? They don't have one. Now, I can tell you the plan. I can sum up the plan in one statement. You come to me and you say, Qesankh, how do we get out of the situation that the cabal has put us in for centuries? I can say, you become God. You can become God. They can't beat that. You become God. And then it's game over for them. Oh, but David Icke and the rest will say, well, the solution is you must take control. You must, not allow them to do the thinking for you. You must be an independent thinker. The herd mentality is cemented in the population of the planet. We're not going to be individual thinkers. We're not going to stop being sheep. That's not going to happen. But you can be God. Now, I can go deeper into that and say, well, you're going to have to first start by putting yourself in self-hypnosis or meditation to purge yourself of all that junk programming that the ruling elite has put in your mind. Because they are very good propagandists. They've controlled Hollywood. Do you think Hollywood is really about diversity? Hollywood is working in tandem with the ruling elite to pump out these messages, to get this planet to where men are emasculated. White men, black men, Asian men, Latino men, that's the goal. Because they know that what stands in their way are true masculine testosterone men. And they know they can get to them by the woman. So they put out their propaganda in the news media and Hollywood movies and TV shows about how men are the enemy, how women have to be pumped up and women, you go girl and all that. Isn't it funny how every Hollywood studio is making films where women are the lead now? Why all of a sudden is this a thing? Because culture is dictated by the ruling elite. Culture is not organic. It's not done through some type of natural fruition. It's not. It is put together in think tanks, disseminated through the universities and through the media. And through a process of social engineering, they craft you. They make you into the person that they want you to be. Where you go around, you talk about, I'm binary. You go around and you talk about, I hate white people. I hate black people. Those concepts should be alien to you as a God. A God does not hate. The fundamental principle of God is love, ma'at. And you are not male, female, black, white, this, that, and the other thing. You are consciousness. You are immaterial. You are the Alpha, the Omega. You've always been and always will be. Nothing will change that. There's nothing the ruling elite can do to keep you from being an eternal being. They can't stop that. There's nothing they could do to keep you from your powers if you choose to awaken them. They can give you amnesia. They can make you forget for a short period of time, but they're going to God puts people like myself here to remind you of who you are and to try and get you back on track. This is Qesankh Ma'at Keperu, son of Ma'at and Tahuti. Don't forget to donate if you get the opportunity. My mother is the beautiful goddess Heteru. And until my next broadcast, I'm in Ra.